Hello, renegades out there in Renegade Land. Welcome, welcome back. I am your host, Amanda McKnight, and today we are going to be talking about some very cool things with some very cool people. I'm really excited, actually. Before we jump into that, just a few quick reminders. So we did want to let you know that Wordlings is now available on Roll20. So we've got a new adventure module featuring new custom maps, Character Mancer compatible compendium expansion, and a player token and handout pack. So Roll20 now has everything you need to play Wordlings with your group. So check that out. You can do it online. We also have the Renegade Con Virtual Winter Edition coming your way. So we do have our Renegade Con virtual. I'm very excited to actually be attending that and doing that with all of you out there. So that's going to be happening on February 12th to 14th. You can actually get your tickets for free online. So go and do that and make sure you mark your calendar so you can come and hang out with us. We've got lots of fun things planned for you, demos, workshops, panels, and tons more. And we also have Ecgretsuko, which is a new game that we just announced. It's actually based off the amazing musical and comedy anime of the same name. And it's also available for pre-order. So you can check that out on our website. And we are going to be doing a giveaway today for Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Yay! The code word will be given away later in the show. So make sure you keep your ears open for that. I don't know if that's a thing, but now it is. But let's move on from that. Desiree will have the link for you in the chat and you can enter our code word there. Now I would love to welcome my amazing guests from Victory Point Labs. Hello, everyone.
Hello there.
Hey, so we've got Todd, we've got Spencer, we've got Kevin, we've got the whole gang here. Hello. It's so exciting to meet you all. I was checking out your stuff on YouTube and it looks so good. Like, oh my goodness. So I will direct us around. So maybe I'm going to give you each a thing to tell us about. So Todd, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are as Victory Point Labs?
Sure. So Victory Point Labs, it's basically the three of us board game photographers showing off pictures and behind the scenes. We have a challenge every episode where we choose a game. We all shoot the same game. Then we come back and kind of reveal our final shot and show behind the scenes and talk about what we really enjoyed about the game. It's a pretty fun time.
Yeah, it looks really fun. That's awesome. You kind of answered the who and the what. So Spencer, could you tell us a little bit more about where we can find you and the team's work online?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our main platform is YouTube, but we also post to Instagram, Facebook, IGTV on Instagram and Twitter. And we're going to be getting a website going real soon, but YouTube is our main platform.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and your videos also look like so polished. Like I was like, wow, these guys are super legit. I love it. So it's really interesting that you're all professional photographers and you choose with your time to shoot board games. So I wanted to ask you first, sort of, when did you all get into photography? And we can start with you, Kevin. When did you start, I guess, as a hobby or as a profession for you? What was your draw to photography?
Well, it started with video. I started making videos with my friends when I was in middle school. And I used to bring my camera to school with me, and all through high school, I would bring my camera every single day, and I'd just shoot stupid stuff with my friends. Yes. And I took a video production class, and by the time I actually got into a video production class, I had taught myself so much about video that I didn't really learn a lot in the class.
Yeah, and so I love that.
Yeah, and that was a good indication for me that I should keep doing it, because I was like, I'm loving this. I'm good at it. It's just kind of coming naturally to me. And so I studied that in college, and I went on to pursue a career as a videographer. And in my current job, because I had dabbled in photography a little bit, and when you're working with cameras all the time, occasionally you're going to snap some photos. But in my current job, the job description was for both a videographer and photographer combined in one position. And so in the past 4.5 years since I've been at my job, I have taken on a lot more photography roles. And that kind of bled into the content that I've been creating with board games as well.
That's really awesome. And I love that sort of that sort of like idea of like when you're young, just like being like, I'm going to take all these really random and really silly videos. Cause I definitely was also that person, not as much at school, but like after school with my friends, and I had like a giant camcorder that I used. I don't know what were you shooting on when you were doing those videos?
So we started, my dad had a little camcorder that he just let me and my friends borrow. At first, he wanted to join us and make sure that we weren't going to break it.
Yeah.
And when he saw that we were being responsible with it, then he was okay with me kind of taking it out on my own. And by the time I got into high school, that's when I knew he wasn't going to let me take it to school.
Yeah.
So I bought a old camcorder off eBay. It might've been the very first purchase I ever made on eBay.
Wow.
And it was like $100, which was probably one of my largest purchases that I had made at that age.
Yeah.
And I still have it. I'm pretty sure it's in my parents', back in their basement somewhere.
Yeah, actually, I just found mine last year. My sister gave it to me. She found it around the house, and I don't know if yours still works. Mine, unfortunately, the power cord, something is wrong with the battery, I think, in it. So I think I need to try to find like an old battery now. So I don't know where you do that, but I'm sure someone has one somewhere.
Probably.
But yeah, that's awesome. And Todd, how about for you? When did you first fall in love with photography?
I've been doing photography for quite a few years, probably like 10 years. It's just been like portraiture and landscape and that kind of stuff. I hadn't really done it professionally. I'd had paid gigs before, but we decided to make the move from Nebraska to Washington. I didn't have a job. I was into board games, and I only knew my wife, so we were just playing 2-player games. And I was like, hey, maybe I should take some pictures. And I started the Imagine All the Meeple account on Instagram. There's my plug. And and yeah, the community is awesome, especially on Instagram. So many photographers on there. So much good work. I found new friends like Kevin and Spencer. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is a really great community, and that's really cool that you were like, I guess I'm just gonna take some of these photos, and then you took like some amazing photos. I feel like is what happened.
Well, now I can't actually go back to any other kind of photography. I feel like I'll go out to a park with my kids, and I'm like, you guys, you're too big. I can't take pictures of you. Could you get closer to the ground?
Down. I love that. That's awesome. How about for you, Spencer? When did you get into photography?
Well, I got into video first, kind of like Kevin. After seeing Star Wars when I was 8 years old, I wanted to get into special effects. Cool. And so from there, I started making movies when I was young, and I got into video production in a performing arts high school. And, made movies on my own and entered contests and all that stuff. And then I came up to, I live in Tallahassee for, try to get into film school. Didn't make it in there, but kept making little movies on my own. And I've been working as a professional editor and motion graphics designer for about 15 years.
Wow,
and
awesome.
So before that, I started shooting wedding videos. And then we worked with a wedding photographer, and I started second shooting for him. And so I was able to just run around with a camera and go crazy and not have to worry too much about the photos. And then when I graduated college, my graduation gift was a DSLR. And so I got into it a little while ago. And then about 4 years ago, I just started taking pictures of board games just because I think I wanted to make a tiny little softbox to light little miniature figures. And it just exploded from there. And being able to meet, people like Todd and Kevin and everybody else in the community has been a pleasure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Also, all of the lighting in so many of your guys' shots is like, wow, it's just so amazing. It's really, really good.
Thank you.
How did you all find each other, by the way? I don't know who wants to take that one.
Yeah, I can take it.
Sure. Yeah, you take it.
So we had the Instagram community, and at that point in time, we probably all knew just about every board game photographer that was regularly posting and that was like making money on it, the bigger ones. It's not a huge community, but it's a fair amount of people all over the world. And I had interacted with Kevin a lot. We were pretty buddy, I guess. And Spencer I'd always looked up to because his pictures were just crazy. He would put so much work into it. It was insane. And I was jealous, but I thought it'd be really cool if we could do some kind of collaboration project, and I ended up getting in touch with Kevin and Spencer, and we decided to try to build something, and it kind of turned into this project, and we're starting just now to get guests in so that we can get some other friend photographers, board game photographers into it, and we're just hoping that that can grow and branch out into something else. So it really stemmed from the community on Instagram specifically.
That's awesome. I really love that. I love that like within the community you found almost like your own community, which is like
exactly,
really,
yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. That's so cool. And is there any specific reason that you find that you're drawn to board games? I don't know. Spencer, do you want to take this one? Like, is there something for you that really pulls you into them?
I love, getting lost in the stories of board games, and for me, whenever I do a photo, I try and tell a story, either its own story or kind of like the story of the game within a photo, and just capture that. And it's a challenge for me to do that, and I love challenges. So I love board games, I love photography, and I love challenges. It was a match made in heaven.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I feel like as well in the last series that you guys did, which was on West Kingdom, with the yellow and all of the banners and stuff that you had in there, and like how you incorporated everything. I was like, this looks like a journey. Like I felt like I was taking a journey with all the cards and everything. So I really see that storytelling element definitely coming through, which is awesome. Yeah, and when it comes to sort of, I guess, board games and photography, let's just even talk about just board game photography. How long have you all been doing this? Like Kevin, how long have you been taking pictures of board games?
I think I first started taking pictures of board games 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
And yeah, I originally started doing board game videos, and I thought, well, I'm not really touching the whole Instagram world by using mainly video. Now, of course, Instagram supports video, and there's a lot of videos that do really well. But the idea behind Instagram is photography, and so I really got more into board game photos because of Instagram. I was like, I'll join. Yeah, I'll see if I can grow a little audience there. And the more I took photos instead of video, the more I really started to enjoy it. And so I've kind of just stuck with it, and I've loved every second of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. And I mean, it's so funny that Instagram like did that, of course, after, and then you're like, oh, okay, well now I guess we're doing video too. But yeah, and I will say too, just even looking at all of the shots you've all done, like it's inspired. Like I've always loved photography as well, but haven't really pursued it as much as I did when I was like a teenager, and I was really into taking pictures of everything. And I was just even thinking the other day, like I took a picture today and I was like, what do I want to do for my background? And then like, I was thinking about the shots that you guys did of West Kingdom. And I was just like, I want to do something like cool for a background. I don't want it to look like my house. I want it to be like fun. And so I started playing with like bokehs and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much fun this is to just play with photography as art. But yeah, how about you, Todd? When did you were saying, I think it was a few years ago that you were doing board games? Or
yeah, I'm trying to remember. I feel like it was around the same time that Kevin got on, like early 2019, late 2018, something like that is when I started.
Okay, cool. And Spencer, you said it was about 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Spring of 2017.
Cool. So you've all been doing this for a good amount of time. So that's pretty awesome. Do you have any plans in the future to maybe like as a group come to back when we are at conventions again, to like go to a convention or have any of you done that before? Gone to a convention to like get into all these weird new hotness games that are coming out? Kevin, do you want to talk about that? You see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I have never been to a convention. I actually had tickets for Origins last year, and well, that worked out. So didn't have a chance to go, but I had everything organized and I was ready. So I would love to attend a convention sometime in the future. And the three of us have actually never met in person. And Todd and I live in the same state, but we're separated by about, 400 miles maybe.
Wow.
So it would be a decent drive for us to get together and meet, but it is technically possible. Spencer, on the other hand, he's on the other side of the US. So, but
you could all meet at a convention. So that
I would
is
love to do that.
That would be really cool. That's awesome. If there's any convention that you could go to, Spencer, what convention would you want to go to?
Well, I did have tickets for Gen Con last year, and that would have been my first time going, so I was looking forward to that. In the past few years, though, I had gone to Dice Tower Con in Orlando,
Nice.
which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, that's a fun one, I've heard.
Yeah. So I mean, ideally, I would love to go to all the cons, and we even talked about doing some kind of photo thing, all three of us at a convention in the future.
Yeah, that would be cool. So, it'd be cool to even have a video where you all go and you do a competition where it's just like, we're all going to go like pick something new and like weird and let's see what we come up with and see what we like. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Hopefully, well, my fingers are crossed for you. I'm sure we'll all be back to conventions eventually. We'll all get to be hanging out in person and taking all the pictures. So that'll be fun. And what has the journey been like for you guys as well, moving from sort of like being professionals in the field of photography and videography to, becoming, I guess, like as well, like with board games. Do you shoot board games as well professionally? Like, do you shoot board games for any columns or for any companies? Todd, you can take this one.
Yeah, I think we've all three of us have worked with different publishers before. I know Kevin and Spencer definitely do a lot of video work for Kickstarters, which is really cool. I've done advertising type stuff. I just got done doing Umbravia for Pandasaurus, like their white box pictures and then their creative shots for their website and stuff like that. So yeah, we have the opportunity to work with publishers through this, which is really cool.
That's awesome. I love that. I love Pandasaurus too. They're great.
Pandasaurus is great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we are about halfway through. So I'm going to give y'all the code word for our giveaway. So the code word today is shutter, as in shutter speed, because that is very important, I think, when you're taking very still photographs, which is usually what we're doing in board games. There's not a lot of motion. It allows you to capture lots of various different elements of light, which I was listening to you guys talk about all your shutter speeds as you were sort of going through the challenges and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I miss having a camera where I can play with shutter speed. I just have my phone now. Phones are good, but there's a lot of settings you can't play with that I miss. And also just a reminder to everyone to enter questions in chat if you have questions, and we will be getting to them near the end. But yeah, that is a thing. I feel like maybe, I mean, I don't know, are there cameras that like phone cameras that allow you to have shutter speed?
Yes. Yeah. My phone has a pro video and a pro photo mode, and both of them give you full control. However, the aperture, I can only set it to either f1.5 or 2.4. It doesn't let me do anything other than that. But other than that, I've got full control.
Oh, that's pretty good. What phone do you have, Kevin?
It's a Galaxy Android S10, I believe. 10.
All right. Well, when I'm looking for a new phone, maybe I'll change that up. I have like I don't even know what mine is. Mine's Google Pixel 3 XL or something like that. And it takes good photos, but there's not a lot of settings you get to play with. Or I don't know. Maybe I have my settings set to like dummy settings. Maybe there are more things I can do. Who knows? So let's talking about photography and talking about some of these awesome pictures that I feel like teasing everyone with. Let's talk a little bit about that stuff so that all of the people that are here that maybe who haven't seen it can see it. So we're going to go around. I'm going to ask you about your favorite shots that you've taken, and they can be with board games or not with board games, or if you want to give me like one for each, you can. But if your favorite shot isn't a board game, that's fine too. I still think that's cool and super valid. So yes. Let's start with you, Spencer. What is some of your favorite shots that you've taken?
For my personal board game project is called Board Game Photo, or Board Game Photos. My Instagram tag handle is Board Game Photo. There's one I did for Forbidden Island, where I actually bought a fish tank and sand and filled it up with water and sunk all the pieces down, because in the game, if you don't get off the island sinks. And so I also bought a little toy helicopter and put it in the background. And I love the atmosphere so the story behind that, I took the photo, wasn't happy with it, but I broken everything down. And I was like not quite happy with it. So the next day I set up everything again and reshot the photo. I mean, it was worth it though. Yeah. I love the end product. Oh, thank you. And then another one is for Mysterium.
Yeah.
The game where one person plays as the ghost and gives clues to everybody else. The photo is a double exposure, so I have everything on the table. There's a candle and a crystal ball, and those are all lit. And then I shot one photo with the skeleton. There's a skeleton under that cloth, and then I went in very carefully and removed it without bumping anything on the table and took another shot, and so it's combined so you see through it.
Wow, that looks amazing. And also the fact that you were able to do that with like whatever you have in the background there, like that seems like it would be pretty tight to get in there. So
It was.
that's impressive. Yeah, I love that you totally captured the mood of both of those games, by the way, especially Mysterium. And I love both of these games, but Mysterium is one of those games that I always tell people, like, if you don't play with the atmosphere, like you're playing it wrong. Like you have to like play it in the dim lights with like a soundtrack playing.
With some candles.
Yeah, put on some candles. You have to do the knocking on the table that suggests you do.
Right.
People that don't knock, I'm like, why are you even playing? What's happening? What's wrong? Those look amazing. Those are awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. All right, how about you, Todd? I feel like now this is like a one-up thing. This feels like when you guys are doing it on your show.
I know.
And it's like, oh, now who's gonna go?
Why'd you start with Spencer? Huge mistake.
Seriously.
Gosh, you should know that we don't start with Spencer. So we did a God's Love Dinosaurs episode with VPL, and I was really happy with the picture I came up with for that one. It was basically like the hand of God, my wife's hand coming down and picking up the dinosaur, and it was just fun to mess with. Just I had to like build a cloud around her, the front of her body, and put it on a pillow so all the pieces are all tweaked. It was pretty fun.
Ooh, that's pretty cool. I like it. It looks so cool. I just love like all of these little elements you don't notice, I think, like in the game when you're playing, or that you notice, but you take them for granted. And when you do these shots that are so creative, it really reminds me of like, wow, like look at how cool this game is. Look at how cool these pieces are.
Yeah, we love to use the extra pieces that people don't think about, or like especially if it's a game with minis or it's a game with meeple. Everyone taking a picture of it is going to be drawn to the mini or drawn to the meeple. So when you incorporate other pieces, or maybe sometimes the backs of the player boards are like the perfect backgrounds for things.
Yeah.
All you have to do is flip them around and put them behind the meeple, put them behind the tokens. It's that kind of stuff. That's what we try to focus on when we're creating good shots.
So you're really incorporating every element of the game.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was another one, the Core Space episode. I got to use a lot of like smoke effects and like bright yellow light and stuff. We definitely like shooting minis, and it's easy to shoot minis when you know what you're doing. But Core Space, that was another really fun one.
That's cool. That's awesome. I feel like anything where you get to play with like just like cool funky lights and like smoke is also just like always a fun time. And I imagine smoke on a smaller level is a lot more easier to deal with than, is it easier or is it harder?
It's easier to control, I would say.
That's good. Yeah, that's for sure. And Kevin, how about you? What are some of your favorite shots that you've taken?
Well, my favorite shot that I've taken for Victory Point Labs is a photo that I took of Tang Garden. And most of the time when I get a game, I want to kind of just take everything out of the box and like look at it and try to find the one or two pieces that really kind of like spark an idea. And the Tang Garden episode that we did, that was the one where I had a really solid idea in my head of what I wanted to do. And I wanted to utilize one of those moons that kind of like glow, right? You've seen people where they hold the moon and it's just like barely illuminating their face. I'm like, I could use that in some really cool ways. And I knew I wanted a silhouette. And so I set up the moon in the background, and I kind of created this like fake little like mountainous thing. And I put some miniatures on the top and created this silhouette. And now Spencer mentioned that he usually likes to kind of tell a story in his photos. And I usually don't. I usually just pick the pieces that I think are cool. And I'm just like, how can I photograph these in a unique way? But for this one, I actually had a bit of a story in mind.
Oh, cool.
And if you read through kind of the abilities of some of these characters in the Tang Garden photo, there is the Emperor and the Empress, and then there's also the Lady. Now the Lady, She causes problems if you have the Empress, because the Empress is worth a certain amount of points, but if the lady is in her line of sight, she's worth less points, right?
Okay. Mhm.
So implying that there might maybe be something happening between the Empress or between the lady and the Emperor.
Yeah.
And the Empress doesn't like the lady. So if you look at the miniatures that I used, it is the Emperor and the lady up at the top of the mountain, and down in the bottom left corner of the image is the Empress, who is out spying on them on their little escapades. So I went a little bit more risque with that one as far as the context goes.
That's so cool. I like it. And I love how it like is like weaves back in to that story of like the characters in the game. And I also just love, like, I feel like that looks like you know, like a portrait almost. It's like a piece of art. It's like if you hung that up somewhere, people would just be like, that's like a really nice piece of art. And you'd be like, this is actually a board game. Let me just tell you about that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, because I feel like the cool thing about and what you all do with the photography as well is the amazing thing about games is that there's like so many elements to them as to why we all enjoy them, right? Like there's the story of them, there's the visual aspect, there's like the mechanics, there's the relationships you have with people at the table. But something that's really cool is when we take really cool shots of them, when you show me these shots, it gets me excited because it reminds me of the fact that board games are also like art. And like not even from like a visual standpoint, like on a story level and all of these things, they're also like a full, you can play with it piece of art. So that is super cool. And yeah, I'm also seeing myself on the Twitch over here, and I'm just like, my hands move so much when I talk. But yes, that's really awesome. And is there any shots that you have that are like your dream shots, that are like the shots that you're like, ooh, that's the money shot. That's like the shot that I want to have happen? We'll start over with you, Todd.
Oh, don't start with me. I don't think I've necessarily taken any dream shots. Although I will say that I took a route shot that it's like my favorite shot I've ever taken, not outside of EPL, where it's like the tunnel where the route characters are looking into a tunnel and I'm looking out and there's trees behind them. It's a pretty cool shot, and I feel like I can't top that one. So my dream shot is whatever can top that shot would be great.
So whatever you take next that you're like, wow, that was even better somehow.
Yes, I'm just waiting for that next route shot to come along. I'm
sure it's coming. I'm sure it'll happen.
Oh, thank you.
That's pretty cool. How about you, Kevin? Is there anything that you've like always wanted to shoot that you haven't gotten to yet?
See, I'm not afraid to spend some money, even if it's for a photo, even if it's a photo that is not going to make me any money. And so I kind of feel like I have, for the most part, made the investments to create the photos that I have in my mind. And so I have spent probably too much money to buy, like a big expensive game because I have a photo in mind for it. And then I buy some props and all these other things. So I don't know if I have a dream photo that I have not yet taken. Because
so
if I have an
idea, are dream photos. Is that what you're saying?
Not all of them,
but most of them.
The ones that I love, the ones that for whatever reason perform really poorly on social media, those are the ones that I love taking.
That hurts my heart. Why is that always how it happens too? Like the ones that you're like, oh, everyone's gonna love this, and then people are like, yeah, it's all right, and then you post something that you're like, this one's not very good, and everyone's like, this is the best thing.
That honestly is. That's 100% true. We'll sit on pictures that are just in like they're pending, and we'll sit on them for months, and finally we don't have any content, so we're like, shoot, I gotta post this one now, and it'll just blow up. Like, are you serious?
The one I didn't want to post. That's always how it goes. I don't know, there's something about art, I feel like across the board, that's just always how it is. It's always the stuff that you think is like your least best, the people are like, yeah, that's good. Okay, cool.
Yep.
It's the same with like even as an actor, I'll like do auditions and I think I bombed, and then people are like, yeah, we want her, and I'm like, okay, I was terrible, but cool. Weird. That's cool. How about you, Spencer? Do you have a shot that you're like, man, I really want to make this shot happen, but I'm not there yet?
I do. I actually have a big list of big dream photos that I want to take that are going to require some financing. So I guess I'll select one. The dream shot is for the game Above and Below, which is one of my favorite games.
So
The
good.
world that Ryan Luckett has created is just amazing. And so I found a cavern in Texas where you can go take photos, and I was going to get costumes, and I have a friend who designs things, so she was going to make some glogos and design some of the coins, but real life, and go shoot there. So that's my dream.
That would be so cool. That's so awesome. I love that. This is like, I've always had this dream of making like trailers for board games and like making them like cinematic movie trailers, but like for the idea of whatever the story of the board game is. And this is like so in line with that. That would be so cool. I hope you get to do that. That'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Should like just, I don't know, like crowdfund it. I'll pitch some crowdfund it. You send me to the spot, I'll pitch. Sounds awesome. That's really cool. And in your latest episode, you guys were shooting Viscounts of the West Kingdom, and you collaborated with Allison Burrell of Kids Planning, which also their channel is amazing as well too. I want to go check them out after. Yeah, it's really, really cool, and I love the concept of that channel. You guys should go check it out if you're watching this. It's all about sort of getting the view of kids when you're teaching them games to see if like it's playable for kids and see if they can like connect with it, which I think is a really cool concept. But yeah, when it comes to other content creators, is there anyone out there, any other photographers or any other just people in the industry that you'd really love to like collaborate with?
How much time do we have?
For real.
All of them?
Put it out there now, and then I'm sure they'll come find you.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Kevin, we can start with you if you have a couple off the top of your head. Sounds like you have a long list.
I do have a long list, but I think a couple people that I would love to work with would be Board Game Shot, Matt from Board Game Shot. His stuff is incredible. Everybody knows who he is. Tim Chuan, I would love to work with him. Him and I did a little collaboration last year for a video that he was working on. And I would love to bring him into this as well, because he's got a super creative eye, and I love what he does with colors. There's so many other people, but we'll just stick with those two, and then I'll let you guys handle the others.
All right. Over to you, Todd. What you got?
We were talking to Ross from More Games Please. He's so cool. I like that guy, and he has great photography, great content. So I would love to eventually find a way to get a game out to the UK without it costing an arm and a leg and customs fees. That's all that's stopping us at this point. And then like there's so many good photographers. Honestly, we have a whole Trello list. We just keep putting people down on there. Like, oh, the list keeps getting so big. Table topping is really good too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a ton of people. Spencer, what do you got?
So there's this Russian. They do videos, but it's called Zundra Grapes. If you go check them out on YouTube, they make such fun videos. Super cool stop animation, just fun ideas, really neat sound design, really good stuff. Also, the Board Game Geek 2020 photo winner, Katya. She does these incredible mosaics of board game covers using thousands of pieces. So there's so many creators we'd love to work with.
That's great. Well, that's good that you all have people in mind and that you have a long list, though, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to collaborate with you because your shots are all really good. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's good to have that list because I'm sure there's going to be people knocking on your door so you can start checking people off. And when it comes to people that want to get into board game photography or just want to get into photography in general, is there any advice that you have for people out there who are looking to sort of get started? And we'll start with you, Todd.
Just do it. It's the same thing with it's the same thing with any kind of photography. If you want to take photos and you have a camera that's even a few years old, you can take photos and you can make them look awesome. It's all about trying to see things differently. Think about a picture you've seen and a different way to shoot that same picture. It's a great way to start. Use the sunlight. You don't have to pay money to start taking pictures. And with board games, if you're into board games, think about what makes you so excited about board games visually and start taking pictures of that. Start there.
That's cool. That's good advice. How about you, Kevin? What you got?
YouTube is your friend. I have watched countless hours of tutorials on YouTube teaching how to do anything and everything with a camera and learning new techniques and just finding inspiration in the things that other people are doing. I think there is just a lot of just wealth of knowledge on YouTube. And you don't need an expensive camera. Like if you go to YouTube and just search for, how to take cool photos with a cell phone, you'll find tons and tons of videos. And it's all about just creativity and kind of viewing things a little bit different. And so I highly recommend, just like Todd said, just doing it. Even if you don't have a camera, just get out there and do it. And YouTube is your friend.
Yeah, love it. Good advice. Any final words from you there, Spencer, for advice?
Just starting to just getting, beginning is the biggest step, because when I used to start, I used to take photos of just anything, and when I look at them, they'll be like, oh, this is great, and then you go back and look now and you're like, oh, that wasn't so great. But just beginning is a huge thing. And then the thing I love besides storytelling is lighting. So do something different with the lighting, block off lighting, use a flashlight, just explore different ideas, and Kevin and Todd gave some great points too. So
yeah, and lighting is so important, but it's so both of what you said, Todd and Spencer, is so relevant when it comes to lighting, because natural light is so great, but then you can also just be like, let's be weird with some light and see if I do this, what does this look like on camera? Because you can find out how to create all kinds of different moods and atmospheres with light. Light is so powerful. I think people forget about the power of light. It's a very powerful tool. That's very cool. Well, thank you for all of that advice. And I think that's all the questions from me. So I think we're going to go to the chat and see what people are saying. What are people saying, Desiree?
All right. So let's see. Our first question we have. So have any of you have a specific favorite type of board game to shoot?
That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. Todd, you want to start with this one? It looks like you're thinking.
I guess so. It's so easy to just want to shoot the games with minis. Unfortunately, with how board games are progressing, especially with Kickstarter, if you want to succeed, you need a giant game with just the biggest, fanciest minis in the world. And the story and the gameplay may suck, but it's going to sell because of the minis. So even though, yes, minis, I see minis and I'm like, I want to shoot that game, I'm trying to dial back, and I'm trying to focus on the old school Euro games, the tokens, cardboard. Yeah, anything with minis, most likely I'm going to be interested in.
How about
I'm
you,
most
Kevin?
definitely, I am not dialing back from minis. I'm ramping up. I love shooting miniatures. I backed the Batman Gotham City Chronicles Season 1 all in. I got all of them. There's over 200 miniatures, and I love them all. And I actually just sent them off to a guy to paint them all for me, because I don't paint. If I did, it probably wouldn't be very good, and it would probably take up way too much time. So I'm like, I'll let somebody else handle that. And so not only did I spend a lot on the game, but I'm spending a lot getting them all painted. And I also spent a lot to buy a bunch of city terrain. And when it comes to my photos of miniatures, I get a lot of inspiration from toy photographers, because similar to board game photography, that is its whole niche in itself, that you can just find a couple toy photographers on Instagram and just check out the amazing stuff that they're doing, because it's crazy cool. And I have been very inspired by a few who I have found and follow on Instagram. And so I want to create some Batman photos with that game that look like they could be real life. I want to,
in Gotham, we're there.
I want to take it to the next level. I want it to somehow look realistic and not just look like a game. So I've been investing a lot of money in 3D terrain lately. So
yeah. Are you gonna have those? What are they called? I forget what they're called, but the backgrounds that people use for action figure shots and stuff like that.
So I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my background, but I'll probably just shoot most of my photos at night, just make them look like they're nighttime shots. And thankfully that works pretty well with Batman, because he's usually out at night. At night, true. Yeah, but I've thought about getting huge, 6 foot wide printed, images of some, big background that could be off in the distance. But for now, I'm just going to start with darkness.
Darkness
is
good.
Another pro tip though, Kevin, don't forget the computer screen or an iPad screen, slap it back there. Yeah. Any background you want instantly.
That's magic.
True. Yeah.
That is true.
I love it. How about you, Spencer? Any games that you're like, yes, give me more of this?
I do not share Todd and Kevin's love for minis. I don't mind them, but they want to shoot minis all the time, every day, and
You're not about it.
I like. I honestly, I'll shoot anything. I like, learning the game and then figuring out how to portray it in a photo. One of my favorite photos that I did was one of the first photos I did was for the Resistance, which is basically just a card game, but I had a super wide lens and I put the cards up front, and so I'll give anything a shot. But there's not any particular game that I'm looking forward to shooting besides just any game.
Yeah, that's cool. I also like that because like the hard thing is like with something like Resistance, because it is a card game, but like there's so much story in that, but it's like literally just cards. I used to tell people when I would teach them Resistance, the most important part of this game is actually you. It's not any of this stuff. Like we could literally throw this stuff out technically and play it, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the fun of that game is just who's at the table. So that's a cool one to shoot because it's like you have this whole atmosphere of what that game feels like, but then you just have cards. So that's cool. I like that challenge. All right, Desiree, what else we got?
All right. What's it been like publishing hit games like Lanterns and Lotus, and has that encouraged you guys to delve into being a part of more casual releases? I don't know. Do you want to start, Spencer? Or whoever has an idea first? Or do you want me to?
Publishing what?
So
I don't know what they're talking about.
I think they might have. I'm wondering if they're asking like what's it been like to take pictures of published hit games, and or unless that's a question for us. I just realized.
It sounds like it's a question for you guys.
Maybe
it might be a question for us.
Well, I guess
we can try to answer it. It's been great.
I guess what's it been like doing more of the hot games as opposed to maybe some games that not many people know about? There, we can kind of go with it that way.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think we love a chance to shoot a game that's just released, or something that maybe a lot of people haven't seen pictures of yet. I always love to upload pictures to BGG when there's like no pictures there. Like they'll have one advertising picture and I'm like, oh yes, this is my chance. I'm going to drop all my pictures in. They'll be forced to see them first, kind of a thing. It's really fun to see pictures before, or to shoot pictures before anyone else has had a chance to shoot them. But also it's fun to grab a super old game and throw some pictures up, and people are like, oh man, I totally forgot about this game, and now it looks different than it ever has because of the lighting and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that that's so important because I feel like we're always about the new hotness, and then as soon as that's like gone, we're like on to the next thing. And there's so many like amazing games. Like I have way too many games because of this problem, and I'm just like, what do I get rid of though? Because all the old ones are also good and I love them. Like this is the newest one, so what do I keep? It's hard. Yeah. Does anyone else have any thoughts about shooting sort of like the new hotness versus like the old hotness, I guess we'll call them? They're still hot.
Still hot.
Still got it.
I don't have any thoughts on it. So.
All right. How about you, Kevin? Do you have anything to add, or you're good?
I guess it kind of applies to both old and new. But for me, I think what I really love when it comes to shooting just games in general is having someone say that they bought the game because of something I did. Whether it was a photo I took or a video I put together, just them being like, wow, I was somewhat on the fence, but after seeing what you did, I'm buying it now. Or just reminding them about an old game, or showing them, maybe a game that is not on the hotness list, but is still a cool game and should deserve some extra attention. I love bringing attention to those kind of games and having people be like, whoa, I've never seen this before, but this looks cool. So just making people aware of games and knowing that I could have an influence in whether or not they try it out.
I love that. Yeah, that's so great. And I think that is, I love that about the board game industry. I feel like everyone's just so excited to like share games with people and be like, you got to check this out. You got to check this out. This is cool. I like it. It's pretty cool. Awesome. Desiree, do you have something else for us?
I do, and I promise it is a question you can answer. Okay, so how much post-shot editing do you do? I guess
That's a good question.
I don't know who wants to start first.
Yeah. Who wants to start first?
I'll go.
It's uneven.
For my own personal project, I do about 15 minutes post, just bringing it in, making sure there's no dust, and being done with it. I do not like spending time in Photoshop, as great a program as it is. For my own personal one, I do everything in camera, so all the effects are done in camera. For Victory Point Labs, I have used some Photoshop just because we're more pressed for time, so I'll do some wire removal, that type of thing. But I try and spend the least amount of time in post.
Cool. How about you, Kevin?
Well, for me, I guess, like Spencer mentioned, time is a big factor. And so I'll usually think through, if I have an idea in my head of a photo I want to take, I'll think through, will it be easier and faster to do this in Photoshop or to capture it in camera? And whichever is shorter is usually the one that I'm going to go for. Or sometimes it may not be shorter, it just might be which will be better. Because, sometimes when you take a photo and you have to do a ton of Photoshop work on it, it's really disappointing when it doesn't look as good as you thought it would. And so sometimes it's worth the extra effort to do it in camera, because you cannot beat in camera effects. Like when it comes to lighting and all these cool things that you can do, like Photoshop is an amazing tool. But I am a photographer more than I am a professional Photoshop artist. And so if I can get it right in camera, that will definitely be the way that I lean. But there are certain things that I can't do without the help of Photoshop. And it really does depend on the photo that I'm trying to take and the game that I'm shooting, because there's some photos where I don't edit them like at all in Photoshop. I might make a few adjustments, to the colors in Lightroom, and that's about it. But if I'm doing something really big and over the top, Photoshop's probably going to be involved in some way or another. So.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Todd?
If I'm ever doing any editing, it's like 90% in Lightroom. I usually don't touch Photoshop unless I'm like creating something or I'm taking something completely out of a picture. And it's mostly, even in Lightroom, it's mostly getting rid of dust. As a board game photographer, as a macro photographer in general, you're worried about dust, you're worried about hairs. You don't need some giant hair hanging on a mini, and that happens every freaking time. It's so annoying.
I was wondering about the absence of hairs, actually.
Yeah, it's honestly, that takes the longest time editing, at least for me. When I'm editing, I'm not going to leave any dust. I'm going to try and remove all of it if I can, and that just takes forever. But outside of that, it's color correction and adjustments, small adjustments usually.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Awesome. Well, another kind of question for your photography, what software or camera do you use? So some of you have already mentioned the software, so if you want to mention what cameras you use, we can start with Kevin.
So as far as my cameras go, I have a Panasonic G9 that I use. I have a Canon 6D that I use. I use my phone from time to time, although it's less common. And I have a Panasonic FZ1000. I also have a Panasonic GH4 and occasionally a Canon 5D Mark IV. I have access to a lot of cameras, and I may or may not have spent too much money.
Many different cameras. Those are Kevin's tools. How about you, Todd? What are you working with?
I have shot just about everything board game related so far with a really old Canon 7D that I've had for like 7 years. So it's the opposite of Kevin. I just got, hopefully if I spend a lot of money, hopefully my quality is going to like jump really high, because I just got the R5, which is super duper expensive, but I have had no time to actually learn how to use it. So I haven't really touched it, which is sad. But yeah, I've been shooting with that old camera for a long time, which is another reminder that you don't have to have the newest thing to take some nice pictures.
True. How about you, Spencer? What do you like to shoot on?
I shoot on an older Nikon D610. It's probably about 7 years old, but every time I go to like think I'm gonna buy a new camera body, I'm like, oh, I could just buy a new lens instead. And so that's for me. That's the biggest thing is lenses. I shoot pretty much all my work either on a 60 millimeter macro or a 90 millimeter macro. And the 90 millimeter macro is old manual. The back is separating from the front, so it's like it wobbles. It was used for dentistry, but it is so crisp. It produces beautiful images. So that's what I'm shooting on.
Awesome. Well, hopefully it lives a long life. That lens.
All right. So, would you say, as a photographer, that you would have a specific style or like a trademark that you do that's different from everybody else? We'll start with Spencer since you left.
Well, that's a ton. Kevin know me for cutting out everything from paper for my photos.
Hobby Lobby over here.
I usually work some crafts into my photos in some way. I use a lot of wire and tape to make stuff kind of float in the frame. I guess if somebody was to say that's a style that I use, that would be it. Using a lot of wire to make elements, come off the table and things like that.
It's pretty cool. How about you, Kevin? Do you have a style?
I don't feel like I have a style at all. I look at some other people's like Instagram pages and I'm like, yeah, all their photos look really consistent and they do things the same and it looks really nice together. Mine's just chaos. Like there is no consistency at all. Like sometimes when I'm editing a photo, I'm like, I want this one to be really green. And then none of my other photos are like that. And so I'm just incredibly inconsistent, but I just take whatever kind of photo pops into my head. And I guess that, I don't know, says something about
that
my creative process.
Yeah, sure. That could be a style. Chaos style. I like it. How about you, Todd?
Mine is way closer to Kevin's than Spencer's. I'll tell you that for sure. Spencer he knows what he's doing. Like he does that one thing, cuts out a whole piece of paper for it. Yeah, me and Kevin were on the same boat. I think I try to use a lot of color, and so if I'm using shadows, it's real dark shadows and high contrast. I try to do that. But I don't feel like I've necessarily nailed down a style either. I like really close macro stuff. And for a while I was doing really zoomed in mini shots, which was fun. Unfortunately, I thought it was more fun than the people looking at my pictures thought it was because those did not perform well. So yeah, I think I'm still just rolling with it and see what I like. And as long as things continue to do well, then I just got a phone call. That was terrible timing. as long as things continue to do well, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Cool. Yeah, go ahead, Desiree.
I was gonna say another question. So we have just a few more minutes left, and we have like 3 questions left. I'll leave it at 3 questions, and then we'll close it up. So do you have any exotic or world traveling shots you would like to do post-pandemic, of course? This may not be board game related. So I guess whoever has an idea first.
Also kind of going on the opposite of board games, really, because usually when you're doing nature, I mean, I'm assuming what they're talking about is more like landscape shots, which are usually a lot more wide, but they don't have to be, I guess. Yeah. Kevin, it looks like you have a thought, so I'm going to go to you.
Oh yeah, no, that was just my kids are upstairs running. And I was like, oh, they're making noise. But for me, I don't really think too much about going out and traveling and taking photos out in some really cool exotic location. Now, of course, that would be awesome. I love seeing cool travel photos whenever the water's just like really, really blue. I'm like, I want to go to one of those places, right? Where there's just beautiful beach and just super blue water. I think that would be cool. But really, I'm much more of a studio kind of guy. I love being able to move lights around and do unique things with different colored lights. And so, yeah, for me, I have less a dream exotic location and more just like a dream studio in mind of just a huge space where I can do tons of different projects in all at once in different areas of the studio. So that's what cool. I would love. Yeah.
Yeah. Exotic studio, just all of the things in the studio.
Exactly.
Like it. All right, cool. How about you, Spencer?
I don't know. I love to travel and take photos, but I don't have any particular photos I want to go do that are exotic. I do have one board game photo that would take me down to Key West, Florida. There's a little old military base called Dry Tortugas, and from the air it looks like a hexagon. So I'm trying to figure out how to take a helicopter ride and do something with because it looks like a hex tile. So something with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that you could use that for. That'd be pretty cool. I like that. That's like an exotic board game shot.
That is.
Everything. How about you, Todd? Is there anywhere you'd like to go shoot?
I would love to go plenty of places. I did a lot of traveling kind of to different countries before I had kids. It doesn't even matter if there's a pandemic. As soon as I had kids, I can't go anywhere anymore. Flights are too expensive. But really, when it comes to board game photography, since that's my main thing right now, I use so much bokeh that it doesn't even matter where I'm going. You won't be able to see it in the picture anyways.
It's always getting bokeh'd out. Yeah, I like it.
It's going to be faded.
All right. You can pick. Okay, so if you had any publisher to pick for to work with next, who would you choose? Let's start with Todd.
Simon, answer my emails, Simon. Are you kidding me right now?
Come on,
Like,
Simon.
answer my emails. Are you serious? That's my answer. I want them to answer my emails. That's it.
Well, hopefully they answer you. They got all those minis over there. What are they doing over there?
What
You're
are they
like
doing?
one of the minis people.
They know that we shoot minis except for Spencer. Just forget about Spencer. Just send me an email.
Could send Todd an extra copy.
That's so awesome. How about you, Spencer? Who would you want to work with?
Well, I heard there's an Ultimate Railroads coming out this year from Hansim Gluck. Might be published in the States by Z-Man, but that's going to be Russian railroads and then all of the expansions. So I'd like to do that.
That sounds pretty cool. I like it. So maybe Z-Man. How about you, Kevin?
Awaken Realms, for sure. I love what they do, and their miniatures are incredible. And I've reached out to them a few times, haven't heard back yet. So it sounds like it's a little similar to Todd's Simon situation.
It's
on
the
people
list.
holding out. What's up with that? Jeez. Answer the emails, friends. If you're watching this, come on, answer the emails. Well, my fingers are crossed for you. I hope some people get back to you. I feel like Z-Man could be a thing, though.
Yeah.
Have you emailed them, Spencer, about the new game coming out?
I haven't.
If they're doing anything?
Not yet. Not yet.
Maybe once it's out, they might. We'll see. This would also be easier if we had cons too, because then you could literally go find those people.
Exactly.
You could be like, hello, I'm here. Let me take
You didn't answer my emails.
The thing that really also cons are for, I feel like a lot of people do go to people and go like, hey, so you haven't been answering my emails. Can I chat with you? But the nice thing is, because it is a very lovely community, usually people are like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see your emails. Let's have a chat, and you figure it all out. So maybe when we're back on the con floor. And what else do you got for us, Desiree?
All right, so final question. Do you ever add an Easter egg into a shot? It's a pretty cool question.
Ooh, I like that question.
Spencer, do you have an idea?
Yeah, I did. So the game Patchwork, I actually made a quilt, and so the story I did behind the photos was I made the quilt, but my wife and daughter in the photos are making a quilt together, and so one of the Easter eggs in there is in a shot they're together on the couch working on the quilt, and then off to the side is a little sand timer, which is in the game, you use up time or buttons. Yeah. So there's a little sand timer.
When you're both out of time, you see how you did. That's how it goes. Get all those buttons. It's all about the buttons, baby. Such a weird game. I love that game so much. Because just the idea of what you're getting and what you're trying to do makes no sense in terms of quilting. And I love that about it.
Yeah.
It makes me happy. That's a good one. How about you, Kevin?
So it's actually the photo that I talked about earlier with Tang Garden, where you have the Emperor and the lady as the main shot. you might not even notice that the Empress is off in the very corner because it's kind of dark and she's not super visible. So that was kind of my biggest Easter egg that I've put in a photo.
Yeah, I like that because I didn't even, and I was looking at it and then you mentioned it and I was like, oh, there she is. So sneaky. I like that. How about you, Todd?
Trying to think. I've taken so many board game pictures over the last few years. Like I'm almost at 1,000 on Instagram, and I feel like there must be something. The only thing I can think of is when we were about ready to have our third kid, I had taken a picture of a meeple sitting on top of my wife's stomach, and it kind of just looks like it's a hill. And then I said something like player 3 is almost here or something like that. I don't know. But I think a few people didn't realize it was a pregnant stomach, and
yeah, so they were just like, what does this mean? This is very cryptic. That's a cute one. I like that. All right. Well, that's it, Desiree?
Yep, okay. That is it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us, guys. It was really lovely chatting with you and also just discussing all of the photography things. I feel very inspired after chatting with you, so thank you. Before we go, I'm gonna send this over to you, Kevin. Pardon? What did you say, Todd? Oh,
thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. Before we go, I'm gonna get you to recap all the stuff, but then I want to get all of your individual socials as well, too, if you want to shout those out, because I know you all do that on your own, and then you also collaborate together. So, Kevin, tell us about Victory Points Labs before we go.
Okay, so Victory Point Labs, we are on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And so you can search for us and find us on all 3 of those social media platforms. And please join. We'd love to have you, and comment, engage with us. We would love to have conversations about photography. And, if we spark some creativity in you, like, let us know. And we would love to follow you back, and maybe you can spark some creativity in us as well.
Yay! I love that. And Kevin, do you have a social as well that we can check out just for your stuff?
Yes. So I am on Instagram and Facebook as Old Man Games. And so if you just search for Old Man Games, my logo is just this like cute old guy. And that's where I'm at. I'm also on Twitter, but not as Old Man Games. I'm just on Twitter as Kevin Grote.
Awesome. How about you, Todd? Where are your socials at?
Imagine All the Meeple. You can just put that into Google and you'll find me on all the things if you want to. But I'm on everything. ImagineAllTheMeeple.com as well as my main website.
Awesome. Love it. And Spencer, how about you?
Yeah, Instagram is the big one, but I'm also on Facebook. But Board Game Photo on Instagram, and then BoardGamePhotos.com is my website. And then I have my behind-the-scenes stuff on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, I have a YouTube too, and a website. So oldmangames.com, and
so check out all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out all those things. So basically check out all the websites and all the socials. And
yeah,
we're everywhere.
Things. You have some homework.
Can't miss us.
Friends. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's really great. I'm definitely going to go follow you guys on all the socials. And I'm already following you on YouTube. So I'm super excited to see what other stuff you come up with, and also just see all the people you collaborate with. Hopefully you get more miniatures, except not for you, Spencer. You're good. You can take those. We'll get you some more like Euros or something.
There
I feel
you
like
go.
that would be really cool for you. Yeah, I like that. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And before we go, just a couple of quick little reminders of things. So we do have Wordlings now available on Roll20 with a new adventure module featuring new custom maps and a Charactermancer compatible compendium expansion, which every time I say that, I'm like impressed that I said it. And you have a player token and handout pack. So you have everything you need to play Wordlings right now on Roll20 with your friends, with your groups online. And we also have the Renegade Con Virtual Winter Edition coming up on February 12th to 14th. Get your tickets for free online and join me and come and see some demos, do some workshops, check out the panels. We have tons more fun for you as well there. And we also have Ecgretsuko, which just came out. So that is available for pre-order. And we just announced it. It's based off the amazing musical and comedy anime show of the same name. So you definitely need to check that out. It looks like so much fun, to be honest. And we also have our Twitch schedule. So we will be having a very special, more phenomenal Monday this week. We'll be playing through Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid Scenario 16, Finster's Fusions. Wednesdays are Vampire Wednesdays. And then, of course, we also have the Renegade Society radio show every Friday with myself.
Oh,
so come back and we'll...
Sorry, I forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah.
Because since next week is the Renegade Con, we actually won't have as many shows. We'll have Monday, though. We'll have Monday.
Monday's going to be awesome, so tune in for that. And the rest of it, just make sure you check our schedule on Twitch. You'll see what's happening and what's not. Actually, we won't be here next Friday. I'm sorry, I lied to you. I'm sorry about that. I just remembered, I'm like, I won't be here. What am I talking about? So, but we'll be here the Friday after that. So, check us out on Twitch. We'll be back. And before we go, that code word one more time for the Viscounts of the West Kingdom giveaway is Shudder. Shudder. So yes, Desiree will have the link in chat. You can click that and check it out. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I hope everyone has a good day. And I hope you all go take some pictures of your games after you play your games, my Renegades. I will see you all in the future.